All right, let's roll it, guys. You've listened to my yapping all day. You're gonna have to listen to my yapping for 15 more minutes.
Make them pop the pills and they'll keep walking. That's the Kremlin's new approach to getting its soldiers to push forward on suicidal runs into Ukraine's kill zones.
That sounds like some secret agent shit. Make them pop the pills. Cyanide pills? That's what I'm picturing.
Russia has introduced a strategy pulled straight out of a horror movie. It's pink. It's easily swallowed, sniffed, or injected, and it's turning Russian soldiers into mindless zombies who only exist to walk forward until they take a bullet to the head. This is the...
That sounds... Honestly, though, like, how do you think that sounds? Because that sounds like some Russian-level propaganda. Yeah? You agree with that? Mindless zombies? I'm, Previtin? Are they really doing this? Dude, and if they're really doing this, am I that surprised? I'm not. Not the first time this was done. It was a tactic during the early OIF as well. It was very common during the World War II as well, though. Like, it's nothing's better than drugging up your soldier to make him more happy in the environment he is in, or more careless to the fact that he's laying in a pool full of his old blood, piss, and shit, than to just march forward and strike fear into the hearts of his enemy. Whoopity fucking doodah. Welcome to welcome to the Ukraine war, I guess.
Worst thing that the Kremlin has ever done to Russia's army, and it's left soldiers suffering a fate worse than death before death finally comes. Let's transport ourselves into a mind of a Russian soldier for a moment. Having been pushed to the front lines long before you were ready, your commander issues an order to assault a Ukrainian position. The problem, you're literally miles away from that position, and you know that your future amounts to trying to sneak through a huge kill zone patrolled by drones and who knows what else.
Because they're making snail's pace progress there. I mean, everyone, that's like what the Russian propaganda bloggers are tooting, right? They're making progress. They are, but it's going slower than World War II. It's a snail's pace, and they're paying so dearly for every kilometer that they gain. Can we even say kilometer? Are they gaining kilometers? Are they gaining meters? I think they're gaining meters. And if you retreat, have you seen the videos of those guys who get handcuffed to trees and left for drones? Like, it's one dude handcuffed naked upside down to a tree. It was Russian way for you, man. Like, I can't think of another way to deal with it than do some drugs. So that's what they're doing to their soldiers, I guess. Though not necessarily the same pills. No, but probably the same idea. Recent news says Russia have turned off internet because of someone mentioned a coup. Really? No one's gonna give a dictator bad news though. But you know what? The problem is when enough people start losing money, someone's gonna pay attention to that and possibly seize an opportunity. I hope so. Like, if you're waiting for your opportune moment, here it is, my guy. Silver platter.
You're not coming back. You've seen dozens of your comrades sent in the direction that your commander is sending you, and all contact has been lost with them. Death awaits. You're terrified. And that's when your commander gives it to you, a little pink pill that he tells you will make all your fears disappear. With no other option, the pill goes down the hatch, and you feel its effects wash over you in a second.
Now, just a question, guys. Like, everyone has a different view on this stuff, right? I like, my strongest poison is alcohol. I don't touch anything else. And if someone told you that you can take a pill to make everything that you fear go away, like, would you do it? Would you take it? Would you swallow it? Like, reality isn't that nice of a place to be in, you know, but creating your own reality in your own mind and then trying to live in this reality while in that reality, it hasn't worked out for a lot of people, man. It has not worked out for a lot of people. So no, that being said, though, I'm not sure how much of a choice you have when a Russian commander says, here, take this pill. Because I don't think they're going to formulate it as a question.
You're calm now. Too calm. So calm that you don't even care what happens to you as you march into the kill zone. You don't know it yet, You barely know anything at this point, but that pill has turned you into a zombie who exists for the sole reason to soak up some of Ukraine's ammo. Locked in twisted bliss, you trudge forward, barely even registering when a Ukrainian drone finds you and comes bearing down. Death comes, but the reality is that you were already gone long before. The little pink pill led you here, and more of your comrades.
Hold on there, Gray. Dead Corpse says on prior comment, arms. Wouldn't take anything to fuck with my brain. No. It's not a mid-operation. I hear that, man. I hear that. So your prior combat arms. What does that mean? I'm curious. I'm reading that you served in the army in some way, but I'm prior. I've never heard that expression before. I'm just curious, brother. This looks like my allergy pills. The kind you stick up your butt. I don't think this goes up your butt. I think it goes down the mouth. And then you go down the mouth, and then you go forward like a brave zombie into Ukraine to denazify them, which is, I think that's the fun irony of this, you know. Russia sets off to denazify Ukraine, and they're using the exact same tactics as the Nazis. Ukraine aren't. Like, the Nazis gave their soldiers meth. Seems pretty fucking similar to me. So who's denazifying who here? That's my question. And I think it's Ukraine denazifying Russia. As a Marine infantry during the Iraq-Afghan war, Army forward observer in Syria suggests an easy way of saying I've been in and out of the military since '06. Well, much respect to you, Grace Dead Corpse. I've been in the military, same as most Norwegian men, and because we were drafted when we were 18, we stayed there for a year. Well, I couldn't call myself a soldier or professional military, but dude, I have a lot of respect for you for doing that, man. And dude, welcome in, by the way. I'm Cal. I'm Calamity. Most people call me. I just stream horror and shoot the shit. I try not to game anything on Wednesdays. I like to just talk and watch video. Oh, sorry. But I do have some game left in me, though. No, maybe not today. Let's see the thing. You should rub them on sandpaper and take the powder and toss it over me while I skip through the dust. Well, that's one way of taking them.
Will follow. This is Russia's new strategy for winning the war in Ukraine, and it can be summed up in one word: pervertin. Those who know their World War II history will have immediately felt their ears perk up at the sound of that word. But before we get into why that is, Ukraine Today reports that Ukraine has revealed that...
I actually don't know that word, but Corsair mentioned that earlier. Pervitin? Is that like World War II meth?
Pervitin is running rampant through Russia's military, and that is the Kremlin's design. The outlet reports on comments made by medics of the 1st Separate Assault Regiment, who have revealed for the first time that Russian military isn't fueled by patriotism for Putin's cause, or even the massive amounts of cash that are being splashed about by the Kremlin to convince Russian people to sign their lives away in Ukraine. Drugs are the answer, and Pervitin is the drug of choice. One of the Ukrainian Armed Forces medics in question reveals all, stating,
Pervitin, yeah? Hold on, I know I followed you on Puzzle Stream. One of Puzzle's mods. All right, I knew that name from somewhere, and just couldn't completely get you up there because you brought up the thing. Dude, whenever someone mentions the thing, man, I have to bring this up. The thing, it's. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm truly jealous of you. I am jealous of you. Because that means you get to see it for the first time. I've already seen it for the first time. Yeah, I feel like I've seen it for the first time for many times, man. I saw this movie when I was a kid. I was fascinated. I was terrified. I was joyous. And I was mad because I didn't know what the movie was called. And when I was a kid, we didn't have Google. You know, we had 2 rocks and a stick. And we had to share the stick, goddammit. So it took me years to figure out what this movie was called. Can't remember how I found out. But dude, that is one of the that's one of the greatest horror movies of all time, man. And it has everything. I'm so scared of playing the Thing game, but I want to, but I don't. I'm scared that they messed it up. but I want to because I've been told it's a good story. Where do I go from there, man? Where do I go from there? Have you seen The Thing? I make it a thing. Whenever someone brings up The Thing, I will bring up The Thing. You know what I'm saying? Fantastic movie, though. You're a man of good taste.
Pervitin is one of the first amphetamines used by the Germans during World War II. It allows you to stay awake for days, and feelings of fear and pain disappear. We're going to dig into those comments in a few moments, but those who perked up at the earlier mention of Pervitin...
But you know, pain and fear, they're there for a reason, guys. Wouldn't you agree? When you feel fear, or when you feel pain, it's because something is wrong, right? If you don't feel pain because you broke your thumb or took a bullet through the hand, how the hell are you supposed to counteract that? However you do counteract that. If you're afraid, it's because you're about to do something that's probably really dumb. So why would you want to have that counteracted? Jesus.
Now know exactly why. It's a Nazi drug, and it amounts to a massive dose of methamphetamine distilled into a small pink pill. What we're seeing here is that the Kremlin is taking its cues from Nazi Germany, which sounds about right for what Putin is trying to do. The Nazis ran rampant over Europe, starting with an invasion of Poland that forced the rest of Europe to stand up and take notice. Putin's invasion of Ukraine shares many parallels, though it's been far less successful. So the revelation that a Nazi drug is behind the seeming...
Look at that, man. That guy is literally holding the world hostage with nukes. Am I maybe overdoing it a little bit, saying it like that? Like, if he didn't have... Let's face it, though. If he didn't have nukes, I think Poland would be in Ukraine now. There would be Polish troops in Ukraine right now. If I had anything to say it, that there would be Norwegian, Swedish, and Finnish troops in it, though. I don't have anything to say in it. You can be thankful for that. I'd be a shit leader, but I'd be a doer at least. Fucking irony is so strong with this one. It is, man. It is. It's. They become what they. There's this expression: you become what you fear the most. I don't believe they actually believe there were Nazis there, though. That being said, but they are what they set out to destroy. What can I say? Your body will counteract it all on its own. It'll save you from the pain with the shock. You can get to a better place and take care of it now if you got chemicals blocking all that. Exactly, because you have... That's adrenaline, man. That's adrenaline, and I'm sure a bunch of other chemicals whose names I can't pronounce. Like, when I broke my collarbone, for example, I didn't cower in pain and die on the spot because I couldn't move. I got myself to safety. And then, things started to get a little bit painful, It's just one of many examples, and I'm sure there are many like it. Here's a reaction. Courage is a decision. That's true, man. But if you don't have the reaction anymore, you just have a little pink pill in your system that is blocking that, Are you really courageous if you march onward, or are you just a drug-fueled zombie? AKA... fucking
willingness
Russian.
Of so many of Russia's soldiers to sacrifice themselves for Putin's cause make points to how the Nazis loaded their soldiers up on Pervitin, even as the Nazi regime preached the virtues of clean living and purity in all things. Putin's hypocrisy is different. He tries to claim Russia as some sort of multicultural paradise. Euronews reported back in 2023. But that's just a smokescreen, an attempt by a dictator to create a narrative of a country that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean... multiculturalism in Russia? I don't really see that. Then weren't they making ads? And they did you see that? They were just basically ads against America, where amongst other things, multiculturalism was a thing in their ads, and that anti-gay and anti-LGBTQ HDMI TV and all that. That was just, and it was not an ad for anything. It was just an ad telling the Russians how bad America was. And here they are talking about being multiculturalism. I don't see that at all. We had an ad on TV2 that back in the day, if you went to Russia, you would come back with an STD of some kind. That's a fun ad, though. No, I don't believe that. I believe we had the ad. I haven't seen it, can't remember it. Because like, you have to remember, every country has propaganda. Like, Norway is not without its propaganda. Finland is not without a propaganda. There's propaganda in America. And the propaganda is all more or less preaching the same thing, but to a different degree, right? The difference is there's no smoke screen being pulled in front of my eyes, so I'm not able to not see beyond it. I'm able to go and find information if I want to find that information. You can't do that in Russia. Like, it's what, they've closed every single form of social media they had. And it's even damaging their military, which is absolutely insane. So there's no way to find information in Russia. So if you make an ad that America is full of gay and LGBTQ people, and that's a bad thing, like, what are other sources are you going to look at if you don't have any other sources, right?
The reality of what Russia has truly become is now being expressed on the front lines as meth-head soldiers amble to their inevitable deaths. Unsleeping, unwavering, and unfearing, these soldiers are Putin's zombies, and that is all that he wants them to be. As for the irony front, remember this.
Yeah, he
Putin
doesn't need them to do anything
the
else.
denazification of
that and to die in combat, but preferably to go missing in action, because Russian soldiers are promised a lot of money, right? And Russian families are being promised a lot of money if this said soldier dies in combat. But if he goes missing in action, there's nothing. So there's a lot of people reported as missing in action to avoid giving the family any money. So this is just, it's a robbery of the Russian people as well, to a degree that is absolutely disgusting. It's just, I don't get it, man. Like, I hope, can we get rid of this guy now? Can we get rid of him soon? That's when the North Korean soldiers finally got to see corn when they went to help Russia. Imagine that, man. Imagine that, when you're cooped up in a can in North Korea and you've not seen a boob, you've not seen the internet, you have no idea what 69 or anal is, and now it's all presented to you in full high definition. Hell, 4K even, and they were good with the makeup. That'd be something, huh? Not sure, they got so addicted they didn't want to find her or something. They just end up jacking off instead, huh? I guess that's that expression. It's time to fight, fuck, or hit the fence. And they chose to fuck. I get them, though. It's more pleasant than going off to war, right? We got to mention DVI. Angry short-haired ladies are typing emails at the moment. Oh, I'm sorry. Every now and then I forget DVI. We have come to Afghan kids to show them what the West fought for. The village elders mad as hell. Yeah, but the Afghan kids got it, right? They're like, oh yeah, I get that. Wonder how many of them got to see docking. I don't think I've ever seen that. What would docking be? Can you describe that in a way that won't get me banned off Twitch? No! Oh, sorry. Oh my god. There's not only do people do that, but they do it so much. There's a phrase for it. Oh my lord. I'm too innocent for this. Dude, I'm a dirty fucking perv and I didn't know about this. Jesus.
The denazification of Ukraine is one of his primary objectives with the supposed special military operation. Russia's leader has made that claim many times, including during a June 2024 visit to the Leningrad Siege Memorial, where he tried to claim that Ukraine glorifies Hitler and his barbaric regime. The followers of Nazi executioners, whatever they call themselves today, are doomed, Putin said during that visit.
The irony in this, man. Like, does he see it himself? Does he know?
And yet here Putin is, following the Nazi playbook right down to forcing meth-based pills down the throats of Russia's terrified soldiers. The reality in all of this is that the secret of Russia's endurance in Ukraine has been revealed. Not in terms
Yeah.
of the manpower advantage that Russia still holds, but in terms of what seems to be the seemingly unending capability of Russian soldiers to throw themselves at defenses that they know will destroy them in short order.
Yeah, because that's been... I mean, there have been soldiers rebelling, fragging their own commanders. This dude even ran over his commander with a tank. I don't know if you read that article. So, but have been so few. I guess now we know why. Too drugged up to give a fuck, I guess.
Tetiana Chornovol, who is a platoon commander with the Ukrainian military, reveals more. According to Euromaidan Press, she says that Russian prisoners of war have presented a pink substance to their captors, which they have reported having been told to take before they head to their positions. After taking it, a soldier feels a surge of energy, no cold, no pain, no fear, and this allows him to act like a machine, calmly wait for a drone to arrive and shoot it at the last moment or hide behind a tree.
I don't understand how someone can voluntarily take a pill that will alter them in that fashion. Am I stupid for not understanding that? I mean, sure, you're in a war zone, it sucks, and you're afraid, and shit, odds are you're gonna get shot, but like, am I stupid for not seeing the logic in this? I don't get it. I mean, I don't blame the Russian people for shit. I hardly blame any group of people. I blame the heads and assholes running the show. You know what? I'm tempted to side with you there, and I think the war should be settled by the assholes who started it, not the people themselves. And it's kind of weird, but this thing has brought out a dark side in me, because I don't have a problem with one group of people, except fucking Russians, man. It's part of, like all the reports of the Russian soldiers R-wording teenagers? And there have been so many cases like that. And you see the Russian soldiers, and they're like privates, they're random dudes, executing civilian prisoners, military prisoners, and all that. Like, dude, I know it's not all of them, but the level of barbarism that they display, it's insane. And a friend of mine, he's been in Ukraine as a soldier, and the shit he had to tell about that was happening in there, it's gruesome, man. But I will admit, okay, maybe I'm putting too much blame on the people, though some of what I've seen has come from the people and not the commanders. So I don't know what I feel about myself there. I have some mixed feelings about that. But I'm I got the fucking judgment for them. Like, no shame. Let's see the thing. Heads and assholes, I just thought it came to the so-called leaders. It was the same. You either get shot by your own or the enemy. Yeah, that is true, though. That is true. You don't retreat. You go forward or to the casket, which means to the casket or the grave. You get to choose.
Chornovol says. However, this calmness is a detriment. With no sense of urgency to drive their survival instincts, Russia's meth-addled zombie soldiers are accidentally making themselves targets for Ukraine. Chornovol reveals an instance where Ukraine was forced to expend 15 drones on a pair of Russian occupiers who survived for so long on sheer dumb luck, rather than due to any combat training. A grenade dropped from a Ukrainian Mavic explodes a meter behind his back, and he, like a zombie, keeps moving forward without flinching. An FPV drone flies in, and at the last moment he calmly hides behind a tree, she recounts.
Good. Okay, so maybe there's a reason they take him. I don't know. There's your answer. I'm seeing on Reddit recently a lot of hate towards Russian US soldiers doing fucked up shit. I'm just like, that's my platoon. They wouldn't have even made it home. They're totally some fucked up people on all sides. I'll agree, and I'll agree. I see your point, and I agree with everything you say. And maybe I am stupid for thinking like this, but I'm just... It's a hatred that I have a hard time putting out of the way, And maybe it's a grudge I shouldn't carry. Maybe it's a grudge I don't even deserve to pick up. And I'm sure I'll put it away sooner or later. But it's really gotten to me. And does that make any sense, what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Well, I'm really glad you looked at the situation, though, and convinced that you would handle it in a good manner, Great Ed. And dude, if in a perfect world, the war would be settled by the idiots who started it. And rather get a bullet while completely thin, drunk, and drugged than running towards a meat grinder while holding a shovel sober. I get that. You know, it's hard to, you know, it's really hard to not be in this situation and claim that I would have done one thing or other, you know, because I'm gonna do the usual thing. You say I wouldn't have taken that fucking pill, and I do mean it sitting here. But I think it's a very different thing when you have the option between a copper-colored bullet or a pill. Then maybe that pill starts to seem awfully tempting, you know? And I'm betting it's not that tempting to sit in there in the trenches and the ditches and freezing, knowing you're going into a meat grinder which you won't get out of. It's a tough spot, though. But, yeah, I stand by that, though. If I could, like, if I was me, I was fully me, and I was brave enough to be me when given that pill, I wouldn't have taken that pill, man. I would have hopefully gotten the fuck out of there in some way. But I know my odds, though, are virtually nil. About as impressive as the asshole that I have here on my left elbow. As an example of where I came from. I try to look at both sides. Yeah, I do too. It's always, there's always two sides to a story. There is. You're right about that. I may be about narrow-minded about this one, though.
This is what Russia's army has been reduced to. Unflinching bullet sponges who try to advance in their zombie state, but are clearly incapable of operating the way they need
so
to
movie
if they're
dramatic,
going to make any substantial gains in Ukraine. But then that's the point, and it's precisely why the Kremlin is allowing this drug to be used in the Russian military. This move will have severe consequences, not only for Russia's army, but for the entire country.
Dude, imagine those who come back, though, and everyone's addicted to meth. And they all come back to the great motherland, addicted to meth. What are you going to do then? A bunch of zombie soldiers addicted to meth back home with nothing to do. Yeah, I can't see any way this could possibly go wrong, right?
Before we dig into that, we need to take a closer look at why Russia has been forced to rely on a drug that Hitler and his Nazi cronies brought to the fore over 80 years ago. There are plenty of clues in the quotes that we've already shared, particularly the mentions of pain, fear, and fatigue suppression. Ukraine Today says that when under the influence of Pervitin, Russia's soldiers can conduct assaults while barely even registering the injuries that they sustain until something happens that puts them out of the fight permanently. Russian soldiers are taking the drug voluntarily, the outlet adds, which only goes to show how horrifying the Ukraine war is for the people whom Putin has pushed into his...
Hold on, this is going to be interesting. Probably more messed up, if not equally as messed up, as a lot of Vietnam soldiers. Yeah, dude. Because they were given, was it amphetamine in the Vietnam War? Am I wrong about that one? 1 out of 3. I'm calling this Finnish soldier continuation war in 1941. He became famous for surviving an extraordinary ordeal behind enemy lines while skiing with his unit. He fell and became separated from his group, ending up alone in the snowy wilderness. That sucks. During the ordeal, he accidentally ingested a large number of methamphetamine tablets. Accidentally! Supplied the soldiers at the time to stay awake and alert. This gave him extreme energy and allowed him to ski astonishing distances of zero temperature. I was just picturing this boyo going so fast, man. Despite being injured and exhausted. Wrong. Vietnam was LSD. That's right. You are right about that. I do remember that now.
They would rather be dumb to it all and die without even realizing they're being killed than maintain their senses and actually try to follow some sort of strategy.
A lot of testing done.
Not they could follow a strategy.
On top of
Russia
Agent
barely
Orange.
has one.
Agent Orange was
the Pervitin solves, if you can call
that was
turning
supposed
soldiers
to
into
kill
zombies
the
a solution,
trees, wasn't it?
exists because Russia has
But
created
it
those
ended
problems
up
for itself. Reports of exhausted soldiers
I don't
struggling with
remember
the
what it
conditions
did to
in
the
Ukraine
men,
date
though.
back to almost the beginning of
But
the
it
war.
was supposed to
For
destroy
instance,
the
June
trees,
2022 saw the Guardian
so
report
the
that
Viet
Russian
Cong
soldiers
had
were
no
already going
camouflage,
public
right?
with appeals to Putin himself to investigate the battlefield conditions they faced. Given our continuous presence and the fact that amongst our personnel there are people with chronic medical issues, people with mental
definitely
issues,
not
many
that.
questions arise that are ignored by the higher-ups at headquarters, one soldier said in a video released at the time. Another said that soldiers in Ukraine were desperately trying to stave off exhaustion and that the combination of hunger, cold, and a lack of supplies was all feeding into their being unable to do the jobs that they thought they were supposed to be doing. It's almost 4 years since those videos were released, and one thing has become abundantly clear: these conditions were by the Kremlin's design.
The myth about using others' medpack has been discarded. That's fair, man, but it wasn't wrong when it was taught to me. So, but okay, if science has changed, that's fair. New knowledge. I'm absorbing it or readjusted. Best case scenario, US military is taught to use the others' medpack first. Yeah, okay, so that's US still abides by that one. Yeah, 100 years ago. 100 years ago, man. Dude, it's only been 25 years. It's not 100 years. Dude, but it's been a quarter of a fucking century, though. My God, that's a long time. Dude, it's twice the legal minute.
We'll dig deeper into what that means soon, but before we do, this is a quick reminder that you are watching The Military Show. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to hit
we
the
are,
button.
man. Wonderful channel. Dude, I forgot. If you're as interested as me, here's the link to the video. Click like, man. Give it a watch. Give it a subscribe. They do have great content. I love them though. So absolutely gonna recommend this channel
Things
for
have
you
gotten
guys.
far worse for Russia's soldiers since the early months of Putin's invasion. Now they can expect
How the fuck can they get worse? Like, when have they gotten better? They're just getting worse and worse every single
to
time
receive
I
barely
read
any
about these
training
poor
before they're
souls.
dumped on the front lines and told to run headlong into kill zones. That was revealed in a February 10th report by United 24 Media, which carried comments made by a Russian recruit who had somehow managed to survive the brutality of the military that the Kremlin has created. After all the medical checkups, they asked me if I was ready to go to the military base the day after tomorrow, the soldier who goes by the name Ivan claimed, before adding,
Like, just in case they didn't believe him, Ivan. Yeah, we believe you're Russian. Welcome to Stereotype Night with Calamity.
they trained us for 5 days. We waited for another 5 days for a force rotation, and then we went to combat positions.
5 days of training? Jesus! What can you learn in 5 days of training, my guy? That's not a whole lot. You can see why one wooden medpack placement wasn't uniform, so someone's medpack wasn't easy to reach in relation to their wound. You can see why you would... I could see why you would just use your own. Yeah, that's fair, man. I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin a chicken, right? But like, if it's uniform and everyone has the medpack, it's very practical to use the wounded soldier's medpack.
The same was true of Russia's Storm Z unit, which is made up of soldiers who have traded time in prison for fighting in...
So that's the patch they give to soldiers who they dragged out of prison to serve in the army. It's like, this reminds you, have you seen that sketch? Okay, just quick interlude. Having seen that, among other things, have they not seen this sketch?
They're coming.
This is it!
Now we'll see how these Russians deal with a crack SS division.
Hans?
Have courage, my friend.
Yeah. Hans, I've just noticed something.
These communists are all cowards.
How have they not seen this?
Recently.
Our caps.
The badges on our caps. Have you looked at them?
What? No. A bit?
They've got skulls on them. Have you noticed that our caps have actually got little pictures of skulls on them?
I don't,
Hans, are we the baddies?
We should be able to hold them at this point here.
But have they seen this sketch? Seriously? I mean, they have it's a comedy sketch, but they have a point. Do they not?
the Ukraine war. They typically receive between 10 and 15 days of training
It's like 10, 15 days of training, man, before putting your life on the line for a country that doesn't even give a fuck about you.
before they're off to the front. And once these untrained soldiers arrive, they quickly learn what happens if they refuse to accept their fate of going on the suicidal runs into kill zones that their commanders expect. As the BBC reported on February 24th, Russian commanders are killing soldiers who refuse their ludicrous orders, and these executions are being done in front of the other soldiers, likely to deliver a message.
Yeah.
I see.
They're also hanging them to trees, leaving them for the Ukrainians, you know. I don't think they've freed a couple of them.
It, just 2 meters, 3 meters, click, click, bang, one of Putin's patsies said in a documentary where he revealed that the murderous commander in question was made a hero of Russia back in 2024. This isn't abhorrent
Disgusting,
behavior.
man. Hero of Russia for killing your own men. Go fuck a goat.
Putin. It's what he expects from his commanders, as the Kremlin is doing nothing more than sending meat to be pushed into the grinder that Putin has created. You're killed if you do, and you're killed if you don't. So, faced with all of that, is it any surprise that so many of Russia's soldiers are voluntarily taking a meth-based drug just so they can get high enough to not care about any of it? They know they're dying.
Yeah, well, you have no choice, you know. I get it, you know, you might as well alter your reality enough to make it survivable. I do believe there were some videos of Ukrainians taking in Russians. I've seen it. I'm betting there are war crimes on both ends, you know, but none can measure the sheer quantity and brutality of the Russians. But yeah, I've seen those Ukrainians basically rescuing Russians from trees. Sitting there drinking cola, eating cheese tools, watching this entertaining. I'm glad that you find some entertainment in this, even though this is not your favorite topic, Sassy Miss Baconator.
Once in Ukraine, they see that they only have one way out. Better to die as a zombie with the Kremlin's approval than to get killed by a commander or deal with the unspeakable terror of watching a Ukrainian drone arrive to shred you to pieces. No wonder Ukraine is finding it on the bodies of dead soldiers and in the...
Dude, have you seen that video? It's like, okay, it hurts to watch, man, because there's a drone is just flying around. You know, I'm not going to show it here. It's fucking disgusting. It's just flying around. It's got aside some Russians following them slowly, being stealthy, being sneaky. A very skilled drone operator, and they're packing up to get inside of a vehicle. And just as they're inside the vehicle, it's like a large truck. It's probably filled with soldiers. They see the drone. And they try to close the door. And they slam it shut right after the drone has snuck in, you know. And it was just so well driven, perfect timing, everything. And it blows up inside. And obviously, everyone inside is dead. And it's just, I don't know. Those are still humans in there, you know. It's like, I don't think Ukraine did anything wrong by doing that, but they were this close to making it back home, guys. Oh, that one just hurts to watch. Let's see the thing. It'd be more beneficial for the Ukrainians even and want to leave your soldiers because they don't want to fight for you. Fine, we'll take them in and they'll give us whatever information they may. Yeah, it is. I think it's 100% a win for the Ukrainians to capture those soldiers, because I don't think they have... Well, they've really no reason to try and protect Russia from their current standing, are they?
The possession of those that it takes as prisoners of war. When you search everyone, you find syringes and pipettes, members of Ukraine's military have said, according to Ukraine Today.
Syringes,
filled with stimulants are also common, so it looks like the Kremlin doesn't care about how it gets meth into the systems of its soldiers, as long as the drug is getting there.
Yeah, as long as it gets into the bloodstream,
who will mindlessly walk until they're put down by gunshots or gruesome explosions that stop them from walking.
Dude, am I mindlessly listening to anti-Russian propaganda now? I believe in every word that's said here. Am I being a fool? Wake me up, guys. Wake me up.
Again, this is all approved by Putin and his cronies. But what Russia's president doesn't seem to realize is that state-approved drug use is only a short-term fix for the many morale and fear problems that run through the Russian army.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one second that they're doing this.
Creating an absolute nightmare of a future, both for his military and for Russia itself. Stick with us to the end of the video and we'll explain.
Yeah, I think that's like using a credit card when you're broke, right? or like pissing your pants when it's cold. It's gonna feel real nice then and there, but only for a few seconds. Sure, your mindless zombie soldiers are gonna wander off into the meat grinder, but those who make it back, addicted to meth in your own shitty country, I can't see a good outcome here. I can't see that being a very good outcome in the long term.
In the horror that awaits Russia when the army of zombies, or at least what's left of it, comes back home. First, there are the many drug-related problems the Russian military is dealing with while it's in Ukraine. Beyond the Pervitin, Russian soldiers are actively using opioids as crutches that improve their mental states on the front lines. Again, it's about getting high when faced with horror. If you zone out on heroin or methadone, you're not going to care all that much when you're sent on a suicide run, and the inevitable happens during your assault. But it gets much worse than that.
Yeah, but if you're on heroin or methadone, like, you can lie in a pool of your own blood, piss, and shit, and you don't even care. Like, what good is that? So, Pervitin it is, then. After Vlad has thrown his spoon in the corner, what do we do with the spoon? And that's where I'm going to throw the fucking spoon, right? Which, Gray, in this room, when you throw the spoon in the corner, it means to die. There's quite a mess to be cleaned, if there's anything left to clean. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to clean, if I'm honest. But there's going to be one big mess, though. But the question is, once Vlad has thrown his spoon in the corner, is the next leader going to be the same, or is he going to be better in any way? Yeah? Is he going to want well for his country, or is he going to wish death upon the West? And which is like, there's two ways this can go now. It's not like Russia had a lack of alcoholics before this. I don't think this is actually helping the situation.
The constant use of drugs by Russian soldiers on the front lines is naturally turning into addiction. This was reported as far back as 2023 by The Hill, which revealed that Russia wasn't screening its recruits for drug use as Putin desperately tried to push more meat onto the battlefield. The massive signing bonuses and wages that Russia is paying to its soldiers are also making it easier for troops to get their hands on drugs, whether that's Pervitin or whatever else the soldier needs to make it through another day of drone-filled hell.
They're not getting paid that.
Reports also say that untrained conscripts were sent drugged as...
I mean, it's pretty hard to pay a man that's dead. Like we talked about earlier, they're not filed as dead. They're filed as missing in action. Russia isn't picking up their corpses from the battlefield, And missing in action doesn't get you a bonus, or your family anything for that matter.
Disposable troops in human waves to disclose Ukrainian positions and prepare the ground for better trained units, The Hill reported in 2023. Drug convictions among Russia's soldiers are on the rise.
So disgusting,
the Kremlin
man.
clearly wants its soldiers to be high as kites.
No
Talking
respect
Drugs
for human
says
life
the number of Russian military
whatsoever.
personnel convicted for drug-related offenses rose by 50% in 2023 compared to the previous year. That's fine for Putin too. We told you earlier that Russia recruits from prison, so maybe we're seeing a vicious cycle of getting soldiers hooked so that they end up in prison and trading their sentences for another stint in Ukraine. The same outlet said in November 2024 that the UK Ministry of Defence claimed
that surprised
that
me a lot.
15% of
I don't think it would surprise me a lot. I don't see that, though.
Russian soldiers fighting in Ukraine were on drugs of some kind. The drugs are clearly having an effect too. In November 2025, Business Insider reported that almost 300 Russian soldiers had died due to either drugs or bad food during the previous 2 years. So it looks like some of Russia's zombies aren't even making it into the kill zones to get shot. Russia's military is clearly crumbling from the inside due to this drug abuse. But let's switch back to Russia itself. Right now, Putin is already facing...
You know what? Yeah, and there is a lot of infighting going on here, and I don't know. This just makes me fucking sad, really. Like, is this what it takes to wage a war? Is this war? Is this what you want for your people? Is this the level of compassion that you have towards other living things? Jesus. I'm whittling slingshots for the squad, says Garcia. Dude, you can make it far with slingshots. Ask Goliath. Oh, no, you can't, but you can ask David, though. Use a sling, not a slingshot. The same concept. A crack shot is a slingshot and a sling, to be honest. Dude, I'm not surprised at all, man. But those are... If you've seen Sling Pros, you know that is a lethal weapon.
Facing a drug epidemic that is ravaging Russia on its own turf. There are plenty of signs that this is happening. In January 2025, the Moscow Times reported that cocaine smuggling had risen tenfold in Russia since Putin launched his illegal war. And this only accounts for the amount of cocaine that Russian authorities are catching coming into the country. As the outlet reports, the period between 2023 and 24 saw those authorities seize about 5.2 tons of cocaine, which had a value of about $3.4 billion.
That's an interesting pill. Are we the baddies?
Cocaine itself isn't widely used in Russia, as cheaper synthetic drugs are preferred. But what this shows us is that Russia is becoming a major transit hub for the drug, likely due to the closures of Ukrainian ports caused by Putin's invasion. More drugs flowing into Russia means more criminals in the country who are selling and manufacturing drugs. About 8 months after the Moscow Times published its report, the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine revealed that there are about 6 million drug addicts in Russia right now, though 18 million people either use drugs periodically or have experience with them. Of the addicts, 20% are children aged between 9 and 13, with another 60% aged between 16 and 30. Are we seeing the impact of Putin's war on the children of those sent to the front here? The brothers of those who are dying and may soon find themselves in Ukraine too? It's difficult to say, but it's clear that Russia has a growing drug problem among its younger people. Now think about this. Russia is already a powder keg of drug use among the youth of the...
I mean, that's fatherless homes. Pretty much cause... maybe I'm overdoing it a little bit here, but, you have a fatherless home. It's a lot easier to fall out. You're a young man, but hey, where's your dad, But he's out fighting in Ukraine, or he's missing in action, or he's dead. So I get that.
Country who are looking for their next fix. But what happens if the Ukraine war ends tomorrow? Suddenly, Russia has around 700,000 soldiers streaming back into the country, many of whom are hooked on Pervitin or any number of other drugs. Those soldiers are going to be dumped back into society after being made dependent on drugs to confront the horrors that they encounter in Ukraine. And they'll find those drugs. They're already being sold and will be manufactured in even greater quantities.
It's going to be just like every other drugged-up army that returns home to hell, only they're on drugs.
To fuel the demands of addicts who have been brutalized by their own country and seen the worst that life has to offer in Ukraine. That is Russia's future. Putin is trading what is to come for what he wants right now. And as more of Russia's soldiers fall into the zombie haze, the Kremlin isn't thinking about what comes next. Putin doesn't care, as long as Ukraine falls, and that's a long way away from happening. The horde of zombies coming back home is a problem to handle on another day. Putin thought that invading Ukraine would create a stronger Russia. But all he seems to do is find yet more ways to wreck the future of a country that is already teetering on the
Instead, it has created a stronger Europe, I believe.
edge. After all, you
Stronger
can throw
NATO.
Putin's zombification of the Russian military into the mix of what Putin is doing to collapse Russia demographically. The long-term consequences of the war are even more terrible for Russia than we've covered here, and you can find out more if you watch our video. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to The Military Show for more deep dives into what is really happening behind the scenes in Russia's military. And thank you as always for watching.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful episode of What the Fuck is Going On in Russia, brought to you by Calamity Gaming Recreations. This week's special,